Hey guys, welcome to the Smart Venture Podcast. In each episode, we're going to have conversations with some of the top investors, superstar founders, as well as well-known tech company executives in Silicon Valley. We'll have a coffee chat with them to learn their way of thinking and actionable tips on how they build or invest in a successful company. Before we start our show today, I want to make sure the listener, aka you, understand that everything a person say on the podcast only reflects hers or his own opinion, not the show or the company they work at. Our guest today is the CEO of LG Technology Ventures. LG Technology Ventures manages over $400 million of fund assets and invests in early-stage information technology, automotive, manufacturing, life sciences, and other areas. Prior to that, he worked as the vice president and general manager of Samsung Venture America. His name is Dong-Soo Kim. Welcome to the second part of the conversation with Dong-Soo. In the last episode, we talked about how Dong-Soo started his career in tech and investing. In this episode, we'll focus on how Dong-Soo navigated his investing career in both Korea and Silicon Valley. Please enjoy. So you mentioned that Pure Storage is more likely to succeed compared to its competitors. What qualities do you see as more superior than their competitors?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an IT systems expert. I'm more of a device and physics person. So so a few things that really made me think that this is a great company. One is the team was very good. The CEO and the CTO, they all had a successful serial entrepreneurs in the software business. They did really well. The investors also, what I think is Redpoint and Sutter Hill, and some very good investors who also understood the IT systems and software side of things. So again, the fact that they invested and they were very aggressively helping the company, right, and funding very aggressively for very fast growth, I think that was also very positive. We talked with some customers. Were talking to them, and the customers had a very good review about what they do. So, and then also talk with the guys at Samsung doing SSD, and they were working together with the company, and they also thought the companies had a very strong software capability. So
you mentioned an interesting point on picking entrepreneurs who had founding experiences in the past. I've heard investors mention that they specifically picking people who have zero founder experiences because that makes the founder more hungry and they will be even more successful. In your experiences, was that true?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, experience does matter. Right. So successful serial entrepreneurs, obviously, one, the fact that they're successful means they have the capability to do it, but also through multiple iterations, every time you do something, you learn, right? So they've also accumulated a lot of this know-how and experience, right, to help them become successful entrepreneurs again. So definitely, there's an advantage if you're a successful serial entrepreneur. But also, I want to say that, but if you're the first-time entrepreneur, it doesn't mean things are impossible, right? I think I've seen a lot of also very successful first-time entrepreneurs, and what they do really well is they know what they know and they know what they don't know. They know where to get help on things that they don't know. And sometimes they are happy to step aside and let people who know better to help them or sometimes make decisions for them, right? So I think if you have the right mindset and some humility, then that's really an important characteristic of a first-time entrepreneur.
To evaluate investments like Pure Storage may need specific domain knowledge. You and your firm invested in many different sectors, from life science to enterprise to consumer. It requires knowledge and industry expertise in many different domains. How do you quickly learn an industry and becoming an expert within a short amount of time?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you need more than days. Sometimes you need weeks, but but again, I think it helps to meet a lot of companies who's doing similar things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, let's say you're doing you're looking at this storage company, right? You want to meet 3, 4, 5 storage companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every meeting you learn a little bit about the technology, but also different points of view,
Mm-hmm.
And all that. And as I mentioned before, entrepreneurs are willing, are eager to teach you, right? So that's and you can always ask, any question. I mean, you can even ask dumb questions, because everyone assumes if you're VCs, you're not an expert, and so it's kind of accepted that you will ask some dumb questions. So again, many meetings with entrepreneurs definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Being a part of corporate venture capital, I also had the luxury of, I can rely on some of the experts within the corporate, within. So back then I was doing a deal with Samsung, and now I have a lot of people within LG that I can ask about particular technology. So that always also helps a lot. And also you have to just talk with external experts, right? You just see who understands this field, and give you provide valuable insight into the area. So I think the best kind of learning is when you just go out and meet people and ask questions, and that's the best way. I mean, some people like to just hit the books or do the internet search, all that. I mean, you can learn certain things, some things like that, but it's at least the way I find it, it's not as efficient as just meeting and talking to people.
As you mentioned, for Pure Storage, you worked on the deal with some top VC firms and from Silicon Valley. Since you've been working at corporate venture arm headquartered in Korea, when you first entered the Silicon Valley investor ecosystem, how do you establish the first couple connections and eventually build an effective network for yourself?
So, building a network is really hard. That's one of the hardest part of this business. You can always, as you mentioned, you can always meet people, but in order to have them to trust you and then invite you to some of the deals and all that, it's just it's very hard. So the way I started is at first I just went out and tried to meet as many people as possible. So I cold emailed some VCs. Hey, can you right? I went to a lot of networking events, and you just gotta. And again, it's not an easy thing to do, especially I guess if you, depending on how you grew up and the culture you come from. But a lot of Asian cultures, people feel uneasy to approach somebody you never met before and say hello and try to start a conversation. But you just gotta do it. You just and you'll be surprised. I mean, I was surprised at least how friendly people were. Even like VCs who never met, I say they would take a meeting, and people who I met at networking events, afterwards they send the email, they'll follow up, and then they'll meet me and all that. So in general, I think there are a lot of nice people in Silicon Valley, so that really does help. So you just gotta. So that's how I started first, and then. But when it really starts to build a really strong network is when you start doing deals together with other firms. So once you co-invest with somebody, and then if you sit on the board, if you sit on the board with the other VCs, then go and when you sit on a board at a company, you go through a lot, right? There's a lot of issues that come up. So you're talking with other board members how to resolve that, and then how to help the company, all that. That's when you really build strong relationships. People really, especially if you're if they see that you're doing your best to try to help out the company, then they appreciate that, and that's how you build trust, really.
For sure. Since you have investing experiences in both Korea and the US, can you tell us more about the investing ecosystem in Korea? What's the similarity and differences between the two ecosystems?
Korea, until now, it was the venture capital market was quite different. Actually, it was there wasn't enough level of expertise. So a lot of VCs, what would they do is just make multiple bets and just hope that something works. I don't know if enough VCs understood the technology or had the expertise to help the companies, right? So and so because of that, they also made the terms very actually entrepreneur unfriendly. So some cases they would require the CEO to guarantee on the investment, and there was like redemption rights and all that. And again, it's not an kind of investment that I like doing, right? I try to utilize more of my expertise, and also not to just find the good companies, but also to help the portfolio after investment. So and also the fact that I worked out of Silicon Valley, so most of my investment was in the US. But now things are changing quite a bit in Korea. I mean, obviously with experience you get better, right? So a lot of Korean VCs now have developed the expertise. There are a lot of US trained venture capitalists who went back to Korea and started making investments, and so now things are changing quite a bit. Also, the entrepreneurs in Korea have gotten also a lot better. In the old days, the entrepreneurs had this kind of ownership mentality. They feel like I'm the founder. This is my company. I'll do whatever I need to do. So they weren't really open to advice from your investors. People would get very upset if the investors try to replace the CEO because the founders thought, this is my company. How can you replace me? So but again, all that is changing. So now the entrepreneurs get it. I mean, the company belongs to the shareholders, not just to you, right? And the VCs has gotten better. So things are a lot more like the US now. So so now I think is a lot more interesting and vibrant market. So now that I'm with LG Technology Ventures, we already did a One Korea deal. It's a company called Machina Rocks. They do AI to diagnose. So they use AI to use all the data from the sensors that are in equipment to do preventative maintenance and all that. So it's an exciting company, and I'll probably continue to do deals in Korea.
Yeah, you've worked for Samsung and now LG on the venture team, two global brands from Korea. From your experiences, what does it take to build a global brand? Having the experiences of working for companies outside of the US, what do you see as the strategies they've used on investing to help them having global impact and selling products around the world?
Yeah. This is my just very personal opinion, but most companies think if they build a great product and sell it at a low price, then you'll have a lot of customers, right? Certainly that is true, but you cannot be truly great company with just that. You will always compete with other companies who's building the same product with their technology and very efficient and lower the price, all that, right? So that's a very difficult. So after a while, you can't grow beyond a certain point when you're just a product company. At the end, what it comes down to is what kind of feeling are you generating within your customers, right? Are they really excited to own the product, right? I mean, right? Do their friends think you have a great product? Do they envy you when you own that product, right? I think that's those kind of intangible things that builds a great brand. and build loyalty, right? So I mean, if you look at the top brands, especially like top European beer brands, right? I mean, they're people lining up to buy, let's say, some fancy bag from France or Italy. There are no specs, right? There's no these bags. There's no say, okay, this will last 20 years instead of 10. I mean, nobody cares, right? It's the feeling that they create when you buy that and when you own it that really drives people to just, line up and wait 2 hours to buy that particular bag or whatever, right? So it's just, so you have to really think really hard. Okay, so what will, what will excite our customers? What will, how can we make them happy just to own that, own our product, right? Like that's what matters, and I think that's what a lot of both Samsung and LG learned through the years. So again, when I first joined Samsung in '97, it's like Samsung TVs were like, if you went to an electronics shop, it was at a corner and it cost, only half as much as Japanese brands, but nobody was buying it anyways. Eventually it moved up and became the top brand, and the same thing with LG. So again, it's just they learned that to generate a lot of excitement with the product, and it has to do more with just the product and specs, but also a lot of both companies. If you go to CES, Samsung and LG has the biggest booth, and it's done very well, right? I mean, actually, there are most people in Samsung and LG booth than in other companies for sure, and it's the most interesting ones, right? So those kind of things generate excitement, right? Marketing is important, sponsoring sports teams, all that. And there's a lot of this kind of intangibles that, and I'm sure there are marketing gurus out there who are a lot more knowledgeable than I am, but I think that's what eventually allowed the Korean companies to Samsung and LG, particularly, and Hyundai also, to really become one of the top brands.
Yeah, totally. Now you have a great network in Silicon Valley. How do you effectively building an ecosystem in Korea while a lot of your investments are based in the Silicon Valley? When I was working in a firm in China, I found that many of the popular startup companies in Silicon Valley don't necessarily known by my VC friends in China or vice versa. How do you leverage your experiences in the US to build a brand for yourself and your investments? And how do you maintain a good investing network in Korea?
Yeah. So I think you have to partner with the right people. So for LG Tech Ventures, we are headquartered here in Silicon Valley. Everybody works in our office in Santa Clara, all that. What we do is we leverage both internal and external resources. So one is LG has offices in Israel, in Europe, in Korea, right, everywhere. So we work with them, and they can source deals for us, right? That's one. And second of all, you have to just instead of trying to find deals directly in those geographies, you work with the VCs there. So I travel to Europe, Israel, Korea regularly, meet with VCs, let them know what we're doing, and they introduce us to some of the best deals in that geographies. We also invest in different funds as LPs. Again, they help us to source deals from all over. So I think those. So again, the short answer is you have to just leverage the resources outside your organization, both inside and outside your organization.
All right, we're at the last part of our interview. I have 3 questions for you. Who made the biggest impact in your career? What's your favorite book? And who would you invite to your dinner party?
Okay. So who had most impact on my career? I have to say, he was my PhD advisor. His name is Steve Forrest. This was at Princeton. I was doing my PhD. Again, he moved on. Now he's at the University of Michigan, and he's very famous for a couple of things. He was one of the pioneers at OLED displays when I was there at Princeton, and he was one of the co-founders at Universal Display, which is one of the biggest now companies supplying OLED materials.
Mm-hmm.
And also he made his fame by developing the fiber optic component, the detectors, the PIN diodes for fiber optic detectors that is now used in all fiber systems in the world. What I learned most from him is he knows how to ask the tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
So as a student of his, I'll prepare, study, go, and he would just ask questions that I haven't thought of, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he would ask. So I wouldn't know. But these are all relevant questions, right? He's not like asking random questions. So, so because of that, I had to really, try to anticipate these questions. So I had to do a lot of studying and all that. And also, it helped me to also ask some tough questions which helps out a lot when I'm, having a meeting with an entrepreneur, because, right, I can ask some of these tough questions and learn different things and also prove the company from many different angles. So I think that really helped me quite a bit. So
for sure. So
very thankful for you. Yeah.
Yeah, can you unpack more about the tough question part? Were they academic related questions, or were they questions that help you think about your career and life?
Yeah. No, I mean, so these would be something, mostly just related with the studies that I was doing, right? So I would say, yeah, I did this, and I got these results. And he would say, so why do you think you got that result, right? What would happen if you done this differently, right? Or right? What do you think if you did this, right? So those kind of like different kind of just trying to explore, so you think more deeply and understand what you're really doing. So instead of just doing, if I do this, I get that. That's not enough. You have to try to understand why. You have to try to understand what if you did something differently, and so that's those kind of like just thinking all these different both how it works, but also just all these
why
different possibilities. Yeah, a variety of work. That I think that's important, right?
For sure. Yeah, thank you. So like that, basically he taught you how to like do critical thinking and then adapt that kind of like challenging like mentality for you early on.
Yeah.
So what would be like a good book that you recommend us to read?
Yeah. Obviously there are many books that I really like, but what I really impacted me most is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Kofi. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic now, right? I mean, I read it like 20 years ago or something. But it really helped me. I mean, what's best about the book is it doesn't just tell you how you can work hard and all that, but also gives you more perspective, right? Like how to prioritize things and really understand what's important in your life and what you want to focus on and all that, right? So you're not just trying to do things better, you're thinking what you need to do and what are the things that you should focus on. So I thought so that kind of shaped me early on how I want to approach my life and how effective I want to be. So I think, so that's definitely, and if you haven't read it, I certainly recommend you to read it. And
it's a really good
book. It's also worth reading again and again.
For sure. Yeah. The last question is like, if you can invite anyone to your dinner party, who would you invite?
Yeah. So I thought about that question quite a bit. It can be a very tricky question, but at the end, I want to invite family and friends because, again, I think dinner party should be fun. It's, if I invite somebody, who I want to meet, some famous guy or something, I mean, I would learn something from it, but it'll be too a little bit not as enjoyable. And I really like also having dinners with my team, mainly because I really appreciate what they do for the firm. I mean, obviously, being a CEO, I can't do anything without them, right? So, so I really appreciate it, and every one of them are great people. So I just really enjoy having dinner with them. I don't know if they enjoy having dinner with me, but that's another story.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a great bonding moment. And thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you. This was very, very, very enjoyable.
All right. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Smart Venture Podcast. If you like it, please leave us a quick review and hit subscribe so you don't miss any tips from the experts. If you want to receive our updates, please leave your email at smartventurepod.com. If you want to connect with me, all my socials are at Grace Gong GG. Besides LinkedIn, it's just Grace Gong. I'd love to connect with you and let me know your thoughts about the show. Now, you can also listen to Smart Venture Podcast on YouTube. Go to smartventurepod.com, click the YouTube link on the top banner. Don't forget to hit subscribe and smash the like button. See you next time.